Done in the eye? Why, I only get 800, you know.
By the way, Mac, I'm a classical scholar and not an arithmetical one. Is 3/5 more than half or less?
More, of course.
How can you succeed in business when you are willing to pay all that money to a university don who is obviously not worth a junior clerk's wages? Well, what will Lazarus say?
Is the bargain closed, Dolly? Does your soul belong to him now?
No, the price is settled. That is all. The real tug-of-war is still to come. What about the moral question?
There is no moral question in the matter at all, Adolphus. You must simply sell cannons and weapons to people whose cause is right and just, and refuse them to foreigners and criminals.
No, none of that. You must keep the true faith of an armorer or you don't come in here.
What on earth is the true faith of an armorer?
To give arms to all men who offer an honest price for them without respect of persons or principles, to aristocrat and republican, to nihilist and czar, to capitalist and socialist, to Protestant and Catholic, to burglar and policeman, to black man, white man, and yellow man, to all sorts and conditions, all nationalities, all faiths, all follies, all causes, and all crimes. The first Undershaft wrote up in his shop, "If God gave the hand, let not man withhold the sword." The second wrote up, "All have the right to fight, none have the right to judge." The third wrote up, "To the man the weapon, to heaven the victory." The fourth had no literary turn, so he did not write up anything. But he sold cannons to Napoleon under the nose of George III. The fifth wrote up, "Peace shall not prevail, save with a sword in her hand." The sixth, my master, was best of all. He wrote up, "Nothing is ever done in this world until men are prepared to kill one another if it is not done." After that, there was nothing left for the seventh to say, so he wrote up simply, "Unashamed."
My good Machiavelli, I shall certainly write something up on the wall. Only, as I shall write it in Greek, you won't be able to read it. But as to your armorer's faith, if I take my neck out of the noose of my own morality, I am not going to put it into the noose of yours. I shall sell cannons to whom I please and refuse them to whom I please, so there.
From the moment when you become Andrew Undershaft, you will never do as you please again. Don't come here lusting for power, young man.
If power were my aim, I should not come here for it. You have no power.
None of my own, certainly.
I have more power than you, more will. You do not drive this place, it drives you. And what drives this place?
A will of which I am a part.
Father, do you know what you are saying? Or are you laying a snare for my soul?
Don't listen to his metaphysics, Barbara. The place is driven by the most rascally part of society, the money hunters, the pleasure hunters, the military promotion hunters, and he is their slave.
Not necessarily. Remember the armorer's faith. I will take an order from a good man as cheerfully as from a bad one. If you good people prefer preaching and shirking to buying my weapons and fighting the rascals, don't blame me. I can make cannons. I cannot make courage and conviction. Bah, you tire me, Euripides, with your morality-mongering. Ask Barbara. She understands.
Undershaft suddenly takes Barbara's hands and looks powerfully into her eyes, as though hypnotizing her.
Tell him, my love, what power really means.
Barbara is hypnotized.
Before I joined the Salvation Army, I was in my own power. And the consequence was that I never knew what to do with myself. When I joined it, I had not time enough for all the things I had to do.
Just so. And why was that, do you suppose?
Yesterday I should have said, because I was in the power of God.
Barbara resumes her self-possession, withdrawing her hands from his with a power equal to his own.
But you came and showed me that I was in the power of Bodger and Undershaft. Today I feel... Oh, how can I put it into words? Sarah, do you remember the earthquake at Cannes, when we were little children? How little the surprise of the first shock mattered compared to the dread and horror of waiting for the second. That is how I feel in this place today. I stood on the rock I thought eternal, and without a word of warning it reeled and crumbled under me. I was safe, with an infinite wisdom watching me, an army marching to salvation with me, and in a moment, at a stroke of your pen in a checkbook, I stood alone, and the heavens were empty. That was the first shock of the earthquake. I am waiting for the second.
Come, my daughter. Don't make too much of your little tin pot tragedy. What do we do here when we spend years of work and thought and thousands of pounds of solid cash on a new gun or an aerial battleship that turns out just a hair's breadth wrong after all. Scrap it. Scrap it without wasting another hour or another pound on it. Well, you have made for yourself something that you call a morality or a religion or whatnot. It doesn't fit the facts. Well, scrap it. Scrap it and get one that does fit. That is what is wrong with the world at present. It scraps its obsolete steam engines and dynamos, but it won't scrap its old prejudices and its old moralities and its old religions and its old political constitutions. What's the result? With machinery, it does very well. But in morals, religion, politics, it is working at a loss that brings it near a bankruptcy every year. Don't persist in that folly. If your old religion broke down yesterday, get a newer and better one for tomorrow.
Oh, how gladly I would take a better one to my soul. But you offer me a worse one. Justify yourself. Show me some light through the darkness of this dreadful place with its beautifully clean workshops and respectable workmen and model homes.
Cleanliness and respectability do not need justification, Barbara. They justify themselves. I see no darkness here, no dreadfulness. In your salvation shelter, I saw poverty, misery, cold, and hunger. You gave them bread and treacle and dreams of heaven. I give from 30 shillings a week to 12,000 a year. They find their own dreams. But I look after the drainage.
And their souls?
I save their souls, just as I saved yours.
You saved my soul. What do you mean?
I fed you and clothed you and housed you. I took care that you should have money enough to live handsomely. More than enough, so that you could be wasteful, careless, and generous. That saved your soul from the 7 deadly sins.
The 7 deadly sins?
Yes, the deadly 7.
Undershaft counts them out on his fingers.
Food, clothing, heat, rent, taxes, respectability, and children. Nothing can lift those 7 millstones from man's neck but money. And the spirit cannot soar until the millstones are lifted. I lifted them from your spirit. I enabled Barbara to become Major Barbara, and I saved her from the crime of poverty.
Do you call poverty a crime?
The worst of crimes. All the other crimes are virtues beside it. All the other dishonors are chivalry itself by comparison. Poverty blights whole cities, spreads horrible pestilences, strikes dead the very souls of all who come within sight, sound, or smell of it. What you call a crime is nothing. A murder here and a theft there, a blow now and a curse then. What do they matter? They are only the accidents and illnesses of life. There are not 50 genuine professional criminals in London. But there are millions of poor people, abject people, dirty people, ill-fed, ill-clothed people. They poison us morally and physically. They kill the happiness of society. They force us to do away with our own liberties and to organize unnatural cruelties for fear they should rise against us and drag us down into their abyss. Only fools fear crime. We all fear poverty. Pah! Barbara, you talk of your half-starved ruffian in West Ham. You accuse me of dragging his soul back to perdition. Well, bring him to me here, and I will drag his soul back again to salvation for you. Not by words and dreams, but by 38 shillings a week, a sound house in a handsome street, and a permanent job. In 3 weeks, he will have a fancy waistcoat. In 3 months, a tall hat and a chapel sitting. Before the end of the year, he will shake hands with a duchess at a Primrose League meeting and join the Conservative Party.
And will he be better for that?
You know he will. Don't be a hypocrite, Barbara. He will be better fed, better housed, better clothed, better behaved. And his children will be pounds heavier and bigger. That will be better than an American cloth mattress in a shelter, chopping firewood, eating bread and treacle, and being forced to kneel down from time to thank heaven for it. Knee drill, I think you call it. It is cheap work converting starving men with a Bible in one hand and a slice of bread in the other. I could undertake to convert West Ham to Mahometanism on the same terms. Try your hand on my men. Their souls are hungry because their bodies are full.
And leave the East End to starve.
Undershaft drops his energetic tone into one of bitter and brooding remembrance.